school taught us how to follow, how to obey, taught us how to memorize and pass a test. They did not teach free thinking. They didn't even teach us how our mind works.
No.
I don't think I ever heard reference to the subconscious mind
Ever.
And so 95% of my actions are influenced by my unconscious mind, which is listening to every word that I say and every thought that I think. And it is taking clear instructions. It is like a 6 or 7-year-old child. You tell it what to do, it does it.
Yes.
It's loving and it wants to be of service. It wants to help you out.
Yeah.
It's like one of those moments when your child comes up and like hands you this thing and you're like, oh, you took me literally. Like you were taking my joke that I made as a direct comment. So they show up and they're just this innocent child. Your unconscious mind does the same thing. So if you say, I'm trying to lose weight, trying implies that you're not committed. So automatically you're telling your unconscious mind, I am not committed to losing weight. So your unconscious mind will not provide for you the pathways, the synchronicities, the signs, the opportunities. It won't show you the ad even on Instagram or something that says the easiest method for losing weight, you just have to commit. But you just said, I'm trying to lose weight. And so it goes, wow, you're not committing. Just like if you say, I can't do this, then it says it's impossible. So of course it's going to delete anything that would show you otherwise.
Yes.
If you say, I always, or I never, it locks your personality into a frozen, rigid state, and you will never be able to do those things.
I feel like so many times, and this is what I've been seeing over the years, and I'm no guru by any means. I'm no guru.
Neither am I.
Yeah, we're about 500 almost with my other show called Real Estate First Technology. And so with the Liftoff experience, I was like, I like Joe Rogan, don't get me wrong. And I like the idea of his experience concept. And I like the idea of it's a podcast, but more of an experience. And so I feel like with the business world, I'm like, it's cool, but we're evolving and things are changing. And I want to help that process. So that's where I was just like, all right, well, Liftoff experience. When do you have liftoff personally, professionally, and spiritually,
Yeah.
But we have the one and only Christopher on the show. Welcome, bro.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the invitation.
Of course, man. It was interesting because, Jonathan and I had a really good vibe session. Y'all got to check out his episode. But that was awesome. Links are down below. And he's like, yeah, I got someone for you. I was like, really? I was like, all right, who? He's like, this guy. And I connected us and everything else. I think I was in California. I was at my sister-in-law's house, and you stayed because you're here for family, right?
I'm here visiting family for a little short-term visit. Yeah.
Okay, but you extended it just for us.
I extended it. Yeah. Exactly.
Hey, did you hear that? He extended this just for us. Okay, so you're welcome. No.
You get an interesting invitation. It's nice to just follow your intuition.
Amen.
Something I teach and I need to practice that. I choose to practice that.
I love that, man.
Yeah.
I love that. It's interesting because I've been working on also practicing slowing down. I feel like it's so easy, just go, 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 go. And then sometimes you're like, whoa, what just happened? Where did I go? And no, I appreciate you taking that time to slow down and just come and just vibe out and be a part of the show, man. We're looking for cool, interesting, unique, different. And I've always liked the idea of just it being something that's organically can just come together. There's no objective. There's no brand deal here, what I'm saying? AG1, buy today. None of that shit. We're just here at my house. It's a Friday. Give you all it's a concept. It's April 11th. It's 2:00 in the afternoon. First day in Arizona hitting 100.
Yeah. Wow. Welcome back home.
Welcome back home. And before we actually got in the air, I would love to kind of go into, as we go into our first segment, so I said, where's home? And Christopher said, well, I don't know. And I was like, what? And so I know you have family here, so that's why you're here.
Correct.
But let's elaborate on that, man. At what point in time did you get to a place where you're like, I just want to be, and I just want to go, and I just want to
Yeah, that's been a big topic, especially it goes hand in hand actually with the slowing down,
Ah,
which is very curious because I've been a traveler. Really, I grew up in Mesa, Arizona, and Chandler, Arizona, so here in the Phoenix area,
okay.
and then my first step really out was into Flagstaff, up in the mountains, just north of here.
Beautiful. Yeah, yeah.
Beautiful area. Went to school there,
Okay.
and that was a big shift for me. But
Mm.
then within 2 years, I was living in Holland. I did an internship in Berlin, Germany. I
Wow.
started learning how to speak German.
Wow.
So very quickly, it was obvious to me and certainly to my family that I was the odd one out. I was the one that wanted to stretch my boundaries. I wanted to explore. I
I
wanted
love
to
that.
get to see the world.
Yeah.
I mean, I got my first passport to go to Canada when I was 19, and it didn't even really feel that different. And then all of a
Okay.
sudden, I was living in another country in Holland when I was 20 years
Wow.
old. I turned 21 in Holland, which meant nothing, considering that it was a culture that had been drinking primarily since they were 16.
Oh my God.
So it was kind of
Anticlimactic.
it was. I mean, I still had a lot of fun, but you know, and I would go through phases where I would go out and I would do these adventures, and then I would come back to the United States, or I'd kind of anchor in or settle in,
Mm.
and then I would go and I'd get frustrated, and then I'd expand, and then
Mm.
I'd come back and I'd lock in, and then I'd burn out, and then I'd be like out of here, and then it just
Mm.
and now I see the cycles. I didn't
Okay.
really understand it so much back then.
Yeah, yeah.
In And I guess I lived in Bolivia for a few years. I was a professional restaurateur, a restaurant manager, a sommelier, professional
Wow.
wine taster,
Okay.
and I found myself at one of the most prestigious restaurant projects in the world in La Paz, Bolivia, which is where my wife grew up. And so it
Wow.
was a very unexpected experience, but it
Yeah.
was because I was open to whatever's there, like just
Yeah.
following the guidance. So in 2019, I actually quit drinking.
Congrats, man. That's a lift
Yeah.
off right there, dude.
That really is one of the things that prompted so much of my own personal growth. It was a weird thing for a professional wine taster to do.
Yeah.
And within 3 months, I was like, I'm putting everything in a backpack and I'm going to Mexico, and then I'm just going to go.
Wow.
And that worked out really well until March of 2020.
Oof. COVID.
Wah, wah.
I know. I wanted to like, oh, COVID. Oh my God.
Yeah, right. But it was interesting because I had to slow down, like everyone
Yeah.
did.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to just like bing, 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 go to all these countries, all these cities, and then all of a sudden I was in one place. I was in Guatemala
Oh, that's where you ended
for
up.
a
Okay.
year.
Wow.
And so I wanted to be this adventurous traveler, nomadic, and then the world forced me back into it.
Wow.
And then just this last year, after trying to fit
Mm.
in the U.S. and in my home state of Arizona, it didn't feel authentic to me.
Wow.
And I recognized that fear was dominating a lot of my decisions. And
Mm.
so I decided to just, our lease was ending in the end of October. And I said, I'm not going to renew,
Okay.
and I'm going to put everything into a backpack,
Mm.
and I'm just going to go.
Wow.
And oddly enough, it took me back to the same town that I lived in Guatemala.
Really?
And I
Is
had
it the
to,
second time?
this was the second time, and
Okay.
I hadn't been there for years, but I had to dig up. I didn't have to. It was all presented to me, all of the wounds that I left there
Mm.
with,
Yeah. Yeah.
that I had been in the process of resolving.
Okay.
It was like time to come back and really close the
Mm.
loop on that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, now the directions are changing again, and I will say that choosing to listen to my heart, choosing to follow my excitement, and choosing to be more authentically me has been one of the greatest challenges of my life, and I feel like it's a
Wow.
great challenge for everybody.
Yeah. I can imagine.
Because if you say to somebody, "Hey, I'm going to sell everything that I own and put it in a backpack," and they're going to go, "Well, where are you going to go?" And then I say, "I don't know. I don't know where I'm going to go."
Just gonna figure it out.
And it's not even figure it out. Figure it out implies that your mind has the power to solve a problem.
Ah,
which
I
I
like
don't
that.
believe that in this situation it does.
Okay.
Figuring out, and this is, we could talk more about language later on because it's
Yeah.
really important, the words that we use. It shapes our reality.
Mm.
This isn't something that I could figure out. This is something I had to listen to. I had to listen for.
Mm.
I had to create space. I had to be
Wow.
open to a higher vision, open to my heart. What do I desire? What lights me up? Where do I feel excited? Where is my
Mm.
energy drawn? And that can be very difficult in a world where it's go, go,
Yes.
go. Right? You said earlier, slowing down is a big thing for you.
Big thing.
Yeah, for a lot of us.
Wow.
Absolutely, for a lot of us. And so for me, um, funny, I was up until a couple of days ago, my plan was to fly back to Guatemala.
Okay.
I actually need to change my ticket because I'm not going back.
Oh, wow.
I'm changing directions, and it's all because of not what I thought,
Yes.
but what I felt, what I was observing in my reality. Because I've been choosing to engage in a relationship with my reality.
I love that. I love that.
To listen, to witness, to observe, to take that information, understand more about myself, and then put it back out there to get into my reality, like really become the creator of my reality.
Mm.
And it requires a word that for me always felt like a 4-letter word, which was faith.
Mm.
And I mean, I did not grow up religious.
Mm-hmm.
We dabbled in like the non-denominational Christianity
Yeah.
kind of a thing, but it was never really.
Not really anything. Not like a thing. You didn't go on
Just,
Sundays.
we did for a while, and then like my dad he elevated into a position in the company he was working for. So then, Sunday was like yard work day.
Okay.
You know what I mean? We had to take care of house chores, And
Yeah.
so everything else kind of got set by the side. And it was actually in college, I got very anti-religious.
Mm.
I went into that realm.
Yeah.
The very hyper kind of liberal anti-religion, God is dead kind of a thing.
Got it.
And it wasn't until many years later that I realized that there's something going on that is way more expansive and just complicated, far beyond than we could possibly understand with our human minds.
Amen.
Right? So I just had to start asking questions like, maybe there is something bigger out there.
Wow.
I hope there's something bigger out there.
Yeah. It would make it all maybe be more worth it than just thinking that this is it and there's nothing else. And
yeah, the worm food thing was never satisfying.
I love that. And I have to say that, like, that's exactly why, for you all listening and viewing, we're going in this direction with this podcast. If anyone's coming from like real estate first technology or just new here, and you're part of the catalyst with that. And I love that you challenged me because I love to be coached, and I like to think that I'm very much coachable. And the word that I used was like, no, there's no figuring it out. It's just slowing down and listening, and coming from the perspective of I'll be the devil's advocate for all the viewers out there. And not everyone, maybe you're right there with Christopher, but if you are someone out there, or should I say, if you are someone out there that uses these words and don't even think about the fact that every single word is an affirmation. And on the last show, Jonathan, I said, I'm going to be more intentional. So I appreciate you helping me with being more intentional.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a big challenge, and I love challenges because they invite us to grow.
Yes.
Right.
I'm right there with you.
Obstacles invite us to see that there's maybe another way. A delay invites us to slow down. Really, I've been working on building some course material.
Okay.
I've been very resistant to online business for a while because
Yeah.
I like to work with people in person. I spent 20 years serving people in fine dining restaurant situations. It was, wine and food, and it's very, it's a multi-sensory experience. It's a very intimate experience, and it was odd for me to shift so much onto the online space. But it was a practical advantage, certainly, the ability to be able to speak to people. I think, gosh, if some of the prophets from back in the day could have had access to a multi-million person potential audience, like, wow,
Amazing.
So it's really is a beautiful gift, and it was lacking something for me. But so recently I've come to the recognition that it's like, how can I choose to celebrate this path as a way for me to like, how is this doing the things that I don't necessarily want to do, like creating online course content or recording videos or whatever it might be,
Yeah.
editing videos, even my least favorite thing.
Yeah.
And how can that help me to get towards my goal? And can I make this mundane activity a piece of the puzzle that creates the overall mission and use that to fuel me through those uncomfortable times? And so I've been really piling into a lot into this course that I'm developing, which is basically, school taught us how to follow, how to obey, taught us how to memorize and pass a test. They did not teach free thinking. They didn't even teach us how our mind works.
No.
I don't think I ever heard reference to the subconscious mind
Ever. I didn't. Did you? Comment below. Love to hear.
I would be very curious myself.
Yeah.
And so this, every word that we speak is casting a spell on us. It is either cursing us. It's in the language, curse words. You learn how to spell. You write in cursive. You sign your name in cursive, and if you're signing the wrong document, you could be cursing yourself, right? There's a lot of stuff hidden in the language, and so if you say something, for example, I grew up in the 80s and 90s. Primarily, I feel like a 90s kid.
Okay.
But my dad was an avid sci-fi fan, and so we watched movies like Dune back before when it was the 80s version.
I remember the video game.
100%.
I played the video game.
I played the PC game.
Yeah.
I was a big Star Wars fan.
Okay.
And I just dug up the clip the other day to share with my future course participants. And it's Yoda, and he's there watching as Luke Skywalker's trying to use the Force to lift his X-wing. And he can't do it. And he just goes, and he goes, just do it. He says, I'm trying. He says, there is no try.
Ooh.
There is do or do not. Right?
Yes.
And I remembered the line, "This is why you fail," but that might have been my memory adding something in that wasn't there. But
okay.
The understanding is that. So let's understand that you have, if my unconscious mind, which is responsible for 95% of my behaviors,
Yes,
which nobody taught me about in school,
okay,
which is bananas.
It's so true.
And so 95% of my actions are influenced by my unconscious mind, which is listening to every word that I say and every thought that I think. And it is taking clear instructions. It is like a 6 or 7-year-old child. You tell it what to do, it does it.
Yes.
It's loving, and it wants to be observant. It wants to help you out.
Yeah.
It's like one of those moments when your child comes up and like hands you this thing and you're like, oh, you took me literally. Like you were taking my joke that I made as a direct comment. So they show up and they're just this innocent child. Your unconscious mind does the same thing. So if you say, I'm trying to lose weight, trying implies that you're not committed. So automatically you're telling your unconscious mind, I am not committed to losing weight. So your unconscious mind will not provide for you the pathways, the synchronicities, the signs, the opportunities. It won't show you the ad even on Instagram or something that says the easiest method for losing weight. You just have to commit. But you just said, I'm trying to lose weight. And so it goes, wow, you're not committing. Just like if you say, I can't do this, then it says it's impossible. So of course it's going to delete anything that would show you otherwise.
Yes.
If you say, I always, or I never, it locks your personality into a frozen, rigid state, and you will never be able to do those things.
Oof.
So for me, I
love that.
You asked me a question before we jumped on this, which was, what was that liftoff moment for me? Right?
Yeah.
And I really appreciated that, because at first I really wanted to think about it. It's like, okay, what's the moment? How am I going to pick one moment? How am I going to pick one moment?
Yeah, what is that?
As soon as I parked a car outside, it was very clear to me what it was. The liftoff moment was when I actually hit rock bottom so hard and bounced a few times that I was sitting in a shout out to Seattle Espresso. This is a local small coffee shop my brother used to work at for many years before he got into a career. And I went there a couple of years ago after a very intense breakup.
Okay.
A miscarriage. That was devastating. I never could have possibly imagined how much that would hurt until it happened. And it was also a blessing, because that relationship would have been terrible.
Oof.
It would have been awful. Oh my God, poor child.
Yeah.
So, blessing in disguise. But I'm sitting there lost, depressed, confused. I'm living in my parents' spare bedroom
Okay.
again.
Mm.
And I'm going, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
And I'm flipping through the New Times papers, like this local paper, which is, ads for concerts and cannabis shops and
Okay.
interesting phone numbers where
Yeah.
you can meet interesting people, if you know what I mean. So I'm just flipping through it, and I see this ad for a $200 NLP training course, and I go, okay, I've heard about NLP, and it says 4 days intensive, and I go,
Wow.
4-day course for $200 in person in Phoenix. That feels a little weird.
Yeah.
It feels like a scam almost.
Cheap.
Super cheap. I go on later to find out that they used to charge for $4,000 or $5,000 for this course.
Wow.
And that course, that in-day 4-person course, was the first time that somebody had ever taught me how my mind works.
Wow.
And I went, this is beautiful. And also, WTF, why did I have to wait until I was almost 40 years old
Wow.
to learn how my mind works?
Yeah.
And so, we're talking about language and all these things, and it
Yeah.
really just, it blew my mind. It blasted
Wow.
my mind open and then started
Let's
to
go.
allow it to restructure.
Yeah.
Because I was able to question everything.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And even that idea when I said earlier, what was it like? Maybe that delay is just a redirection from my higher self, from God, from spirit conscious, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
That's one of the most powerful techniques we have. It's called reframing.
Yeah.
Just look at life through a different lens.
100%.
I guarantee you've probably done it quite a few times in your life.
Oh my God. 100%. Yeah. I mean, you're sitting here talking, and this is how my mind works, and love any feedback from the audience as well, is I just think to you all of the things that you're saying. And one thing that my wife says, and I'm working, and we're both working on this, you always do this thing. And then it's like, well, hold on. Do we always? And then you start to question, okay, do we always? And how does that work? And why? And it's very true because, sometimes I get hard on myself too about things like slowing down. So my wife and I got into fix and flip. And we saw the opportunity. The first one was great. We're 8 deep now with one sold in the market. And it's like, been sitting for almost a year now. And you're at $1,000 a month for lot rent. So we're like, And so one realtor friend, Ashley, down the street here, she has a house for sale in the corner, to then the park now trying to help us sell it to, we got the little Joseph and all the things. And then what you're telling me is that, and what I heard from you, and then just sitting with myself for a second, and then my higher self said, not that I'm just need to slow down, but I also need to redirect from flipping. It's not in alignment with what I'm supposed to be doing. And so it's taking me off course.
Yeah.
And so now I'm like, I got it. I'm ready. Can we sell it now?
Yeah, right.
I'm ready. Okay.
Let's integrate the lesson, please.
Let's integrate the lesson. I'm ready. And so I don't know who is out there who's listening and viewing, but that's the intention of our show, is so not only can you share Liftoff and we can share it with our audience, but hopefully someone out there can also have a Liftoff moment themselves. And I like to get in deep conversations. That's why we have a little alien as our mascot.
So good.
Because it can pique curiosity.
Yeah.
Which I love. But man, almost 40 until you took control of your mind and had that Liftoff after that NLP.
Yeah, it was it was a wild experience because I had just gotten out of this relationship, and I sat down.
Is the marriage or no?
No, this wasn't the marriage.
Okay.
Marriage ended about 8 years ago. That started me on a new direction.
Okay.
Rough timeline, divorce, drug addiction, infidelity.
Really?
A lot of really dark places, a lot of really poor decisions, impulse control issues. I went from being, like married and like managing finances, and never at that time really financially successful.
Okay.
Because I was working in the restaurant business, and that wasn't you don't go and work as a restaurant manager to make it big. There are some, the ones that have done well are the ones that have built their own franchises and their chains and all these things.
Got it.
The personalities and
Yeah.
and
Gordon Ramsay.
oh my God, yeah, 100%. Gaston Acurio, famous Peruvian chef. There's like people that have really changed. They've made ripples in the world through food, and it's really beautiful to see. But I was not that person.
Okay.
So our relationship ended. I doubled down on wine.
Okay.
Started getting more into wine sales. I started importing wine from Bolivia with some business partners.
Wow.
And then there was a moment where I was reading a book that was helping me to get in tune with my purpose because I'm like, there's something more. I was aching inside. I was empty, and I was still filling myself with cannabis and alcohol and, unfortunate short-term relationships. And nothing was really doing it. And then I went, I love teaching about wine. I love the information, the culture, the experience. But I want to help people to never have to have the experience that I did, which was just like, just like waking up one day and you don't know where you are because you took a night out celebrating something or avoiding something, and it just went too far. And I was like, I really want to help teach people how to drink, not to drink expensive or to drink good, but to drink well. And I'm like, there is a drinking well. And I started learning about mindfulness practices. I actually started meditating, and I started actually doing some events that were focused around mindful wine consuming.
Really?
Yeah. And it was really funny because it was very counterproductive in certain ways because I was incentivized to sell more wine, but I was creating experiences where people were satisfied with less wine.
Less is more.
Less is more, but they wasn't paying my bills.
Oh no, hella
I was like, hey, I was trying to make money off of, hey, buy some bottles of wine to go, or I'll buy an extra glass after you finish. But people were so present and so in their bodies and so in the experience that they didn't want any more alcohol, which was beautiful. But I was having difficulty with the financial aspect of it. So then all of a sudden I listened to a podcast, and I remember it was episode number 444 of a podcast.
444.
Yeah, there you go. Ritual podcast is a fun one. But he was talking about his experience as an alcoholic.
Okay.
And I never liked that. I would never.
Like identifying with that term.
Didn't like to, it was not an alcoholic. I didn't like to go, something felt off about that for me. And now actually through Neuro-Linguistic Programming, NLP, which is the primary tool that I use among many, many, many tools. When I started to learn about my mind through this experience, they said one of the primary assumptions that we have about reality is that a person is not their behavior. Okay, so I'll say that one more time. A person is not their behavior. Okay. If you say I am an alcoholic, you're taking a behavior, which is to consume alcohol, and you're making it my identity. Right. Essentially, I'm consuming it poorly in excess.
Yeah.
If I were to say you're a liar, I lock you into that identity because I'm saying that even though you're a person who may have lied, for whatever reason, now I'm saying you are a liar, and this can apply to any behavior. You're not a liar. You're somebody who, in order to survive or in order to get by, you chose something that worked maybe at some point in time, but maybe it doesn't do what you want it to do anymore.
Nope. Yeah.
But you, as soon as somebody labels that on you or you adopt that label, you will never not be that.
Wow.
So if I were to go to a meeting every week or every day and stand up and say, I'm an alcoholic, guess what? I will suffer with that identity the rest of my life.
Wow.
So for me,
powerful.
I was good to put the language to it. And that's why it was so nice to be in this class and why I teach what I teach is because we didn't get taught these things when we were younger.
Yeah.
Right? No, you just hear your mom say, well, that SOB is a liar. And then monkey see, monkey do. We copy it. We hear politicians say stuff like this. We just pick it up.
Yes.
And then we get locked into these things. Just as you said, always. Well, I'm going to get nerdy for half a second. This is called a universal quantifier. Universal quantifier is a way of understanding the language, the linguistic term to say, when I'm saying that something always, I'm saying it is universally true always. Never. Right? These lock you into a fixed state, but then your unconscious mind just goes, okay, We always lose. Okay. And it will actually filter out from your reality anything that would give you a win because it does not want to make you wrong. It wants to affirm your identity that you are choosing. And just like that little child that just wants to help you be happy, it's like you give your little kid the wrong instructions. It doesn't know.
Yes.
So 95% of your behavior, 95% of your actions are locked into this. I always get screwed. I always get this. I always get that.
Wow. Can I elaborate on something really quick? Okay. So my wife and I have been listening to, we're gonna go into the alien vibe now. Esoteric type
Please.
conversations and getting into like, okay, we'll say source. Okay. And last night we're listening to this medium, and she was talking about how source, and it's in the Bible multiple times for you all that are religious, play, have fun.
Oh my God.
And my wife and I said, honey, I said this, if infinite wisdom and source is just almost like a kid just having fun, right? And just like playing, right? And just like, and then the source, I don't want to say him or her or whatever, just the source, the divine energy is being like, here, here, here. That's you, that's me. Go ahead and have free will and do what you with that free will.
Yeah.
And then what you just said, how we lock ourselves in, it's almost like the divine teacher, spirit, God, whatever you want to say, is like, interesting how they just lock themselves in with always.
Chose that one. All right, let's see what happens.
Right?
Here. Let's just see where this goes.
Right?
Which is so fun because there's no such thing as another NLP presupposition. Presupposition just means a healthy assumption about reality that we take to be true based on what we have experienced about reality, which is
Okay.
There's no failure. There's only feedback.
That's good, dude.
That's it. There's no mistakes. There's only lessons. But again, you have to reframe that for yourself, right? Because if you grew up in a society that carried shame, and religions are notoriously good at this because that helps keep people in line.
Yes.
Governments are good at that.
Yes.
Schools are good at that.
Yes.
Because it keeps people in line.
Religion. Yep.
These are organizations that, at its core, they want people to not be so free thinking because it's easier to organize them, right? Organize religion, organize government. Now, I love spirituality. I opened up to spirituality. I used to be so anti the Bible, and now I'm like, there's so many good nuggets in there. There's
oh my God.
so much wisdom in there.
Yes.
If you have the eyes to see, or if you have somebody help you. One of my favorite lines in there, and I don't remember it exactly, which is, you shall never enter the kingdom of heaven unless you become like that of a child. Bam. Play. Invitation for play.
Right back to what I was just saying. Interesting.
And so I agree with you. I believe that we have been given, the Bible says something along the lines that we have been created in the image of the Creator.
Okay.
And like, it's not a bearded dude in the sky. I think a lot of us are figuring that out.
Come on, Jesus. I saw you, bro.
So the thing is, what is the Creator? Well, the Creator is the Creator. It creates.
Yeah.
It uses imagination, the mind.
Yes.
Everything is the mind. Everything is imagination. Everything is thought. It uses that to create. Well, if I'm made in the image of the Creator, what am I? I am a creator.
What are you doing? Come on.
I'm a drop of the ocean. I am not separate from the ocean. I contain everything the ocean contains. So I have the full capacity to create. And I believe that we came here, you came here to have an experience.
Yes.
And that experience, I believe, I choose to believe, is to have fun.
Yeah.
And think about this. The video games that I used to play when I was a kid, they were not all rainbows and unicorns, right?
Oh, no.
Destruction, conflict, war, struggle, breakups and all these things, because drama is inherently exciting.
It is.
And it also, we can grow.
Yeah.
We can evolve.
Yes.
When you meet that boss and you're like, oh my God, this armor's not going to cut it. This sword is not going to cut it. Well, literally, the sword is not going to cut it. then I got to go upgrade.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So I call life a video game, an artificial intelligence simulation, whatever you want to call it. God, creator, source, some dude or an alien with a computer software that's so powerful that it doesn't really matter, because everything is in your head. anyways. Like everything exists in your perspective.
Yes.
You are both the center of the universe and also a minuscule tiny flake of sand in the universe. You are everything and nothing. And I feel like when we can grasp that, then we can realize like I do whatever I want.
Yeah.
And also there are rules, there are laws, there are things, I can do whatever I want. And also if I go and I steal money from everybody that I get to become friends with, I'm never going to have any friends.
Yeah.
So you've got to learn the lessons.
Yeah.
And I feel like for me, and this is repetitive teaching for me and learning and remembering more than anything.
Okay.
How to have fun. That fun is powerful. That play is profitable.
Yes.
I was looking at your Instagram the other day and I saw, I think your daughter had a birthday recently. And man, it looked like so much fun.
Yeah.
That, when you take that energy, you bring that to your work, to your team, to your people, to your family.
Yes.
It's just like, and it just, it's powerful.
It's very powerful.
And I grew up in a society. I mean, I grew up in a family. My dad, I love him. He's a beautiful man. He's very sweet. He's very kind. He worked Monday through Friday. He left the house before I was awake. He got back home just before I went to bed.
Wow.
And he sat in front of a stack of paperwork until he went to sleep at like midnight to get up in the morning, get up at 5 and do it over and over again. He did this for 30 something years.
Wow.
He did this certainly all the time that I was a child. Worked half day Saturdays. Did half day of work on Sunday and yard work, or we do house stuff. So the man, he was always working.
Wow, God bless.
He came to like some games, and he was, he showed up. He went on vacations. It was hard for him to. Always took like a conference call or something in the middle of the vacation. My mom would flip, and she's just like, So
yeah.
We're on vacation.
Good for moms.
But so it's no surprise that I learned that.
Okay.
I worked very long days in the restaurant business and banquets and hotels, really grinding hard. I just wasn't making that much money. So it was unfortunate because I was working a lot without much of the benefits. But when I started to understand that, well, it made perfect sense that he would work so hard because when he was younger, his mom died when he was about 15. She had an aneurysm, struggled and suffered for 2 years until she passed away. He was the eldest. They lived and worked on a ranch. After that, his dad was running away from medical debt. Wow. Because had no way to pay it off.
Yeah.
Literally some days we'd wake up in the morning and his dad would come in and say, pack up your stuff. We're going, we're leaving town.
Wow.
And so when he grew up in an environment where you couldn't play, play it had no meaning. We need to put food on the table. We need to get this ranch working. We need to do the things. And so he grew up in a place where his best way to show up was to work. And so no surprise that he did not play as an adult. And then for a while I was really angry that I picked up this workaholism thing, right? This behavior, which I believe is an addiction.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's a behavioral pattern, really. It's a survival mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
And then I looked back at him later and I went, wow, you grew up in a household where you couldn't play. Wow. Actually, get some tears about that right now because how hard that's got to be. And he worked so hard so that I could play and have the toys and the things. But what I told him later on is I said, Dad, I love you. And I didn't need the toys. I needed you.
Wow.
And I could tell he didn't really know what to do with it. And he felt it and he knew it. He knew he was experiencing guilt that he worked so much and he was not present for us. On paper, great dad. But a lot of my wounds, a lot of my patterns come from a man who grew up in a household without a man being present, which is unfortunately, very, very common in this world.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
But when I got over the anger and I leaned into compassion, when I finally got to understand more about him, and I went, these ancestral chains, these patterns that we got handed down. Your money challenges are not yours. They're your great, 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 great grandfather. Like we now know that you have 14 generations of trauma that you can sense and we can understand in your body, in your DNA. 14 generations. That is like over 4,000 individuals that you're directly related to of people who fear, unprocessed grief, traumatic experiences, the money that they got screwed out of, 14 generations in how you show up in the world.
Wow.
And again, nobody teaches you this. You go to school and they don't teach you, hey, you might not make a lot of money sometimes because your great-great-great-grandfather actually had an aversion to it because he got screwed over by a business partner. You'll never know that that's there, but it's there and it shows up in your behavior. But they're also not going to tell you you can change that. You can choose differently.
Wow. That is super, super powerful. I'm curious because for the viewers and listeners out there, I can imagine for me, new to this, somehow in the episode, I'm like, what's NLP? I'm like looking it up, I'm Googling it.
Yeah.
Can you give some context to our viewers and listeners so they can conceptualize what's the basic fundamentals of what it is?
Yeah, I love it. And that's a great question. And I'm falling into one of the traps that we have, and I think a lot of professionals have. I know a lot of people that study NLP are realtors and they're in the real estate business. So they start talking and there's all the jargon. And I'm like, I have no idea what you people are talking about right now. They're just like, oh yeah, you didn't get how many points on this thing and how many, the DLC. And I'm just going, I don't know what you're talking.
No idea.
Neuro-linguistic programming is a system, a system for communication. It is a way of communicating with yourself and with the world. It is a way for, it is a model of communication that was developed by John Grinder and Richard Bandler. And these two guys were a psychologist and a computer programmer. So here, just even from understanding that context, is like you got a guy coming in who's going systemizing, programming, inputs and outputs. And then you got another guy going human behavior. And they look at humans and they're going, well, okay, well, like, why are these people successful and these people are not?
Yeah.
So they started to actually model the behaviors of some of the most successful therapists and clinicians, including a hypnotherapist, Milton Erickson, who's a fascinating, interesting person. Go watch some YouTube videos of him, and the way he speaks is so hypnotic, how he can get you into a trance just by speaking a certain way, and he knows how to help people go through massive transformations.
Wow.
So they said, we got to look at this guy and a few others and go, what are they doing that gets them the numbers? Why are they getting the results? And then we're going to model them. We're going to break it down. We're going to model them. And then they would find that there are ways that we can create changes in the human mind to create different results, because we live in a cause and effect world. So if you were to pull the plug right now, all this power would come off, everything would shut down. Cause and effect. You pull the plug, everything happens. The podcast ends. Well, then that means that if I have the effect of an unhealthy relationship, or I'm not making enough money, or whatever it might be, well, there's got to be a cause. So we can get to the cause, and then we can recognize that there's a program that's being initiated. There's a strategy happening. It's like you pull out your phone and you turn it on, and maybe you see the little logo there, the Apple logo or whatever.
Yep.
And it's doing something, but it doesn't show you what it's doing. It's running so many processes in the background.
Yeah.
And then you press a button for an app, and then the app pops up. And then all you see is Bing, and then there's the app. But there's so much happening behind the scenes. Same thing happens if I, walk into an interview, and just walking into that interview, being in that situation, triggers a strategy. It might be a strategy of deference. It might be me sweating and getting nervous. It might be me talking way too much. Could be anything. And they're going, well, you're running programs. And we understand that 95% of our life is driven by the unconscious mind, which just means the mental processes, the mind, the energy of your mind that is you're not consciously aware of.
Yeah, it's like the app behind the scenes doing all the things.
Exactly. Which thank God, because if I had to be like, are you currently regenerating your cells right now?
Yeah.
Are you?
Please give me a minute.
Yeah, it's like talk to Jonathan about regenerating cells, but no, it's really like you don't have to think about your liver processing toxins. You don't have to think about your food being digested. It just happens. Thank God, because
heart beating.
Your heart beating. The breath is interesting because the breath is half and half. It happens automatically, and then also I can take control of my breath, and I can influence my body and my mind. It's really cool.
I love the breath.
Breath is power. Breath is spirit. That's spirit in action right there.
Oh my God.
And so the game changer for me from NLP, and I go into this and really in depth with the course, is basically at any given time you have all this stuff in reality happening. Okay. And you have senses. You have 5 senses. I'd say more. I'd say we got 6 senses. We've got intuitive abilities. We got all kinds of stuff. We got the alien things. Bzz, bzz. But you're getting roughly 2 million bits of data per second coming into your awareness. Now, your unconscious mind gets it all. It needs it all. It has to keep this thing alive. Primary focus is keeping you alive, right? Keeping the body alive. Which, again, thank God, because otherwise I might just walk into that swimming pool and never come out. Like, so how now you have your conscious mind, which is what you use to navigate this reality. It's what you choose. You know how you set your goals. What do I want? How many bits out of those 2 million do you think that you get into your conscious mind? If it's going to filter out so that you can manage
5%. Really?
Yeah.
1%. 0.5%. Wow.
You get 1/1000th of a percent of what you can sense, not what's actually happening, but what you can sense through your 5 senses or more. So let's think about it like this: if you walk into a building, let's say you go to a real estate convention. Okay. Bunch of people, a lot of opportunities, networking. If you walk in and you have a deep belief that I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I have to work extra hard, harder than everyone to just get things to work for me. And that's been locked in probably because of your dad or what your mom said or how something happened to you when you were a child, whatever. It locked it in when you were a kid, because like a kid you're a sponge, and a lot of this stuff passes through your DNA. And so you walk in and you've got this belief, I'm not good enough. Nobody likes me. Nobody wants me. Nobody's ever going to, but you're not thinking that. You're walking in going, this is a great opportunity. This is networking. There's thousands of people here.
Amazing. Let's go.
Oh my God. Yeah. So think about that. You've got 99.9937% of what is happening in that room will not get to your conscious mind. So how it filters that information is with your language, which is why words are important. It is with your even just the constructs of your language, English versus German versus whatever. It filters it out based on your traumas, your memories, your past experience, what has kept you alive until this point. It filters it out based on your decisions. So when you were 3 and your mom ignored you because she was balancing her checkbook and you went, well, I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not important enough. And so it locks in. You made this decision and your unconscious mind just goes, got it. We're going to run the filter every time, every day, every moment, every second. And so you walk into that yeah, right. So you walk into that convention and you're like, yes, let's go. I've got my goals. I'm going to close 3 deals. I'm going to get 3 network contacts, whatever it is. But here's the thing. There's 10,000 people there. Your mind is only going to show you the people that will affirm your truth that you are not good enough. So you're only going to be drawn to, you're only going to actually even see the people that will affirm your truth that you are not good enough. So you're going to walk up and you're going to hand your business card to this guy and he's not going to give you the time of day. Even though right next to him is a woman who would have the perfect opportunity for you if only you had the program installed that said, I am good enough and everything always happens to me easily. But you didn't see her. Your mind deleted her because it knows, because it's connected to God. It's connected to source. It has infinite access to knowledge. It senses and feels everything beyond we can possibly conceptualize. Which is why trusting your gut, your intuition, your unconscious mind is powerful. But it just will not show that to you.
Wow.
Right? Just like right now, somebody watching this video, I could shut the lid of their computer and then I could sit next to them and say, what were the 2 colors on his shirt? And then they wouldn't pay attention because until I just made it relevant, it's in there, but they have no reason to access it. There's no purpose for it.
Interesting.
So what I've learned is that your results are simply a result of your cause, your programming. You don't get what you want, you get what you're programmed for.
Wow.
you can update your program, but you got to know how.
Yeah.
And they don't teach us that.
Here he is.
What's up? And
Wow.
and so what would happen if you were to walk into that convention, but beforehand you had let go of all of the emotional baggage about the times that you weren't good enough,
Yeah.
and you let go of that root cause of the thing that caused you to believe that you weren't good enough, and then you set a vision for yourself that aligns with this new version of yourself who is good enough, who deserves just by being alive, you deserve to have whatever you want.
Yeah.
Because this is a game and you get to have fun.
Life by design.
Let's go.
Let's go.
And if you walked into that with a specific goal, and then all of a sudden your reality has changed,
Yeah.
you see a completely different convention.
Yes.
Right. So that's why when I think I want to say I think Gandhi says, be the change in the world that you want to see.
Yep.
Yeah. This is not just like, oh, if I recycle, the world's going to get better. Like, no, this is, if you change your belief, actually the world that you experience changes. Because you don't see the world as it is, you see the world as you are.
Yeah. Wow. That's powerful. Super powerful. A little bit lighter, like just super random on programming.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but my wife and I, we always wear the same colors. I swear to you, like she took a shower, she left. I got this on, and then she came home, we're matching. The morning at the gym, I didn't see her. She comes downstairs, she's in blue, I'm in blue.
It's my first interpretation of that is, so we talk about rapport a lot in NLP. It's like communication.
Yeah.
So like right now, you and I are in rapport. I can tell because we have the same body language.
Yes.
Now that our unconscious mind, it's like people like who they're like. They like who you like, who use like you.
Yeah.
Right. So now I can use that to influence you, and I can see that you've got your leg crossed, and I can go like this, and then I'm subtly telling your body, hey, I'm like you. I can start to speak more like you, and I can start to gain influence with you. Right. And this is why a lot of people will talk about NLP and they're going to go, ooh, NLP, you're manipulative. Right. Look, I get it all the time. I say, oh, I'm a master practitioner and a trainer of NLP. And they go, oh, don't talk to me. La, la, la. Like, I don't want you because you're going to manipulate me. And I was like, look, the tool is not evil or good.
Yeah.
It is the person who wields it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, just like sales. I'm 10 years plus in with Liftoff Agent, who sponsors the show, shout out. And NLP, I didn't even think about that. But the body language and everything, like that's in a lot of the self-help
100%.
books and the training and whatever else. It's all there. You're mirroring,
matching and mirroring, and not mimicking. That's different. Not like making fun of somebody.
Yeah.
But why is it in NLP? Well, because NLP is simply a model of success.
Yeah.
And so the best salespeople are the ones that know, if I can help this person feel comfortable and like me, things are going to go easier. I'll take it to an extra level deeper than that. I believe it's more than just me, like, oh, yeah, like we move at the same time, then we must be in rapport. I think it's about resonance. I think there's a deep resonance.
Ooh.
A deep, deep resonance. And that's where we get into the more esoteric stuff, which is like resonance is essentially if I have a tuning fork tuned to 432 hertz and I have one tuned over there to 250 hertz. If I sound this, it's not going to affect the 250. But if I put another tuning fork over there, that's 432, I hit it and it will vibrate the other one in the same room. I believe that's what's happening with you and your wife. On one level, you're in rapport. You both have a deep, intimate connection. And so you're going to have a level of rapport that is going to be unconscious, where you just unconsciously are alignment. I believe it's deeper than that. I believe that you two have a deeper relationship just based on that, where you are in deep resonance. And so that familiarity expresses through those unconscious behaviors, right?
Dude, it's very powerful. And it's funny because last night we have 2 Airbnbs on the property. It's 3,300 square foot, 6-bedroom. We don't need this space to ourselves, and we love people. So we have the travel trailer on there, a room upstairs on there, and then Julia watches our house. My team's in the Philippines, so we go out there every year. And we have 3 women here, and she calls me, and I don't pick up because I had met with a contractor. We have some stuff going with the HOA, long story short, whatever, might have to extend the wall. So I'm meeting the contractors, and I go out there and talking for a little bit. And speaking of being a resident, she automatically is like, why didn't you pick up my phone? Where are you? What's going on? And then she gets home and she sees that the guests are in the backyard in bikinis. right?
Mm.
And she automatically, I'm like, whoa, here's the business card, honey. Here's the timestamp, honey. I was outside doing this, this, and this. Like she is
Yeah.
in tune. She knew.
Yeah.
Like she had like sixth sense or some shit.
Mhm.
Like and didn't even need to like know anything.
Yeah.
She just knew.
There's so much happening that we are not tuned into because we don't need to be tuned into, and also I believe because we have not been taught how to tune into it.
Yes.
Right. So people that have extrasensory perception have developed it. There's a lot of talk about this idea, the concept of the empath.
Okay.
So the empath is the person who is energetically very sensitive. They often turn into people like me who are here to help people to break free from their limiting patterns and release their traumas and
Love it.
to level up because A, oftentimes we've gone through it ourselves, and B, because we can feel it.
Yeah.
And it's like when you walk into a room and you go, oh, like I can feel like somebody's been fighting in here. Like we all can feel it. It's just some have tuned it up a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I believe that a lot of us have had to do that as a survival mechanism when we were a child, because if I was not aware of how mom was feeling, even though she wasn't communicating it to me, and her body language wasn't necessarily expressing it, I had to tune into it, because if I say the wrong thing at the wrong time, now I'm in trouble. Right?
Correct.
Now all of a sudden I'm the one that's getting punished.
Yes.
Is because my mom doesn't know how to handle her emotions. She doesn't have the emotional intelligence because she wasn't taught the emotional intelligence. She wasn't taught these techniques. So I had to develop a hypersensitivity to other people's energy. Now, this can be a gift and it can also be a curse, right? And I believe if you're in sales, you have trained yourself to be energetically sensitive,
Yes.
to be tuned into somebody's emotional state.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go up to him and be like, hey, I'm feeling like maybe can we just like let's just take a few minutes off before we talk about paperwork right now. Let's get to it. Like, what's going on? You'll take a little extra time to build some rapport. You'll take a little extra time to like, did you see that game the other day? Or hey, how are your kids doing? Because you recognize that if I jump into paperwork right now, this guy is not in a good headspace, right?
Amen.
So we can tune into more. For me, I'm doing that right now through meditation, through energetic practices, studying Hawaiian esoteric wisdom, doing energy healing. There's a lot of things that I do to increase that sensitivity. And I think there's just some people that popped into this world and they were like, boom, like open.
Yeah, there are, and some children out there are very extra sensitive and can just like the light beings that are coming into our awareness now is just amazing, and it's so true. This extra sensitivity. I was in California last week, and we went from family to family to family, and getting closer to being like, hey, like, let's, honey, next time we'll go there and we'll go hang out and have dinner, and then let's just go back to an Airbnb or our house so we can like have that balance, because I'm so sensitive, and I'm opportunist hermit with Life by Design, and so this is my zen. This is where I recharge, and then I go out and do the events, and then I'm like, all right, I need to take a break, but yeah, sometimes you have to attune to the other person, and like they say, like listen with two ears, speak with one mouth, and the other person will feel so much more connected to you, and you don't have to say a word. And so yeah, I had that happen where brother-in-law, he means well, beginning into church and very preachy. So I'm just like, okay, listen, it's fine. And then I leaned on the wife at the end and dumped all the, because you could feel the pressure. You're like, okay, all right, and it's like 95.5. You're like, okay, I got 5% out. This guy's just nonstop. I love you, dude. Just, and there's a difference between speaking at you or speaking with you.
Amen.
Right. And that's where I felt like it was very much the speaking at me. And I'm like, okay, you haven't asked one question. Okay. Like, but yes, it's very prevalent. So if you're out there, sometimes just walk away from the chalupa. Get a breather.
I tell you what, without fail, my clients, the people who are really looking to make transformations, because I work with people in many different states of their life. I work with people who are looking to, build their business, to expand their success, or people that are looking to overcome physical ailments. There's a lot of ways that we can do this, because everything ultimately comes from a mental or emotional issue.
Yeah.
Which has a root in the spiritual energy of why did you come here? And I love to help people tune into their true life purpose. because there's a beautiful thing when I meet somebody who says, I say, you know, what drives you? And they're like, family. I'm like, cool. What else? And like, well, I just want my family to be really happy and great and successful. I'm like, okay, like, what about you? Like, what do you want to do? And I'm just immediately, I'm already starting to sense patterns. I'm like, what's going on here, right? But I meet people who are to some degree, they know that there's more out there, even though they've already had whatever level of success or whatever it might be. They're not feeling that fulfillment. Maybe they're starting to tune into, what is this consciousness? What is this spirituality? What is this God thing? Maybe there's something to energy. Maybe the movie The Matrix has some hidden meanings in it. Maybe Star Wars and the Force is real. Like, which, like, yes.
Yes.
Yes, it is. And also, I love to work with these people because at the end of the day, everything that's happening in their life is a strategy that's being run that used to work, and maybe it's not working anymore. Get to, change the behavior, but love the person. And I get to help them to peel back the layers to get to know themselves.
Yeah.
And like what you said, 2-4, so 3-5. So I'm the experimenter, the great life experimenter. Human design. I'm a very fast, highly energetic guy who just will jump off the bridges and fly into the unknown and connect with who knows what, because I just need the experience. I want to feel it, which makes sense that I was in the wine business and restaurant business. It's all about experiences.
Yeah, I was looking for the book. I think somewhere else.
Yeah, and it's like I actually do human design readings for my clients. I make sure that they get into human design because there's so much to learn about yourself.
Michael told me about mine.
That's so good.
I had no idea.
Oh yeah, man. And I mean, and astrology, I work with the Mayan astrological calendar. I work with a lot of systems because for me, it's not about the thing, it's about the results that we get for it. Boundaries, though, is every client we have to go through boundaries conversations. Every single client we have to go through boundaries conversations, whether it's my mom this, my mom that. It's like, well, you need to learn how to have your mom understand that she is not helping you when she talks to you like this. I had a really powerful conversation with my parents, and I love them. They're very sweet, and they've seen me, struggle for the last several years in finding my purpose.
Yeah.
Because I was not satisfied with the status quo. I wasn't just going to go get a job and do the 9-to-5 thing.
No.
And so, I went to another NLP training with my teacher, and my teacher's awesome, super powerful dude. Really. Yeah, he's definitely a very magical being. Wow. And Dr. Matt James, by the way, go check him out. Fantastic teacher. Okay. So I came back and she goes, "How's the training?" I go, "Oh, it's awesome." She goes, "Did they sign you up for another training?" And I was like, "Oh, somebody's got some sales baggage here." So,
yeah.
She does not like being sold to. Which shows up in my life in a lot of ways, especially selling to people. There's this like, what are you doing? What are you trying to control me? You're trying to manipulate me, kind of a thing. So I say, "Yeah, Mom, I did sign up for another one of their trainings." And I was feeling this like this sense of judgment, like, "Oh, they suckered you into another training. They're just getting more of your money." And I said, "Mom, I want you to know, every time I come back from one of these trainings, I am a different person. I am leveled up. I feel more aware of myself. I feel more empowered. And if anything, if you ever see me go through more challenges, it's because I am digging them out and I'm doing something about it. Instead of just hiding behind the bottles of wine that I used to hide behind." Wow. And I said, "Mom, I love you. I love you dearly. I am not asking you for advice. You do not. You live a beautiful life. It is not the life I want to live, and I do not ask advice from people who don't live. If you don't live the way that I'm aiming to model,
yeah,
I'm simply not asking for your advice. So I'm gonna have to tell you in the future, if you feel like you want to give me advice, or if you want to judge something about my path, I'm just gonna ask you to hold on to it. And if I need advice from you, I will come to you and I will specifically tell you that."
Wow.
And man, that was a hard conversation.
How'd she take it?
It was difficult. It was very difficult. My mom, the patterns I've noticed, and the more that I've learned about her mom and dad, the more that I've learned about my family, the more I understand why these things are just behavioral patterns. It's not her. It is a pattern, a strategy. She got real tight. She got real upset and stressed, and she doesn't look at me. She like averts her eyes. She gets real like kind of balled in, and so I could feel, with that energetic sensitivity and that empathic sensitivity, I could feel that. But I had to hold my ground. I was not going to let it do what it used to do when I was a kid, which was, okay, I'm going to do whatever I can to make mom happy.
Yeah.
Right, because that's what I had to do as a kid, because I didn't want to get yelled at or punished. But I go, no, I have to hold this boundary right now. And I will tell you what, we have never had to have that conversation again.
Wow, dude. Congratulations, man. That's awesome. I think anyone who's viewing and listening out there could take that to heart and be able to potentially use that knowledge to be able to have those tough conversations. My family's in California, and I just said, I'm out.
Yeah.
Like, California's great. It was during COVID. Lockdown, like vaccines to like go into restaurants. My wife and I are like, no. And that's why we built this house the way we did, because we wanted it to be COVID proof. That's why we have the gym, and we have the hot tub, and we have the pool, and we have the Zen room, and I have my office, and we have the podcast studio, and then we share it with whoever wants to share it. And if HOA doesn't like that and our neighbors don't like that, then guess what? Come over and you can share it too with you.
You strike me as the kind of guy who asks forgiveness, not permission.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I was So, quick side note, hilarious story. We go camping. No, we don't even go camping. We met up with Dad John. This is my wife's husband, dad. I'm husband. And cool dude, GI Joe dude, like served the military, guns, the whole nine, hiking. And he now has his new wife. He just got married. I was his best man 3 weeks ago. Shout out Papa Bear and Monica. And they just celebrated their 1 month being married in California. We saw him briefly in between one of the gatherings for Jaden. He just turned 30. I can't believe I'm a uncle of a 30-year-old. And I'm a great uncle too for his kids. Crazy to me. That was because I married into that. And so dating myself over here. And so I bought this trailer 2022, got it used, so brand new. The guy bought it, had it in Texas, was building some house, and then I brought it over. I tried to get in the backyard, run away, and I hit the top and broke a shingle. And the wife's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" I'm like, "Sorry." Then I went down and got one of those mini tractors, and I fucking started digging a trench, and I got all the piping to make sure all the water would flow out. And it's been a year since it's been back there. We shoveled out 7,000 pounds of dirt just to get that thing back there. We got the 240, we got the water, we got the little tiny septic in there. And it's been about 12 months. And not until I went to meet the neighbors, I'm like, "Hey, we're gonna just come on over. We want to meet everyone, you know." And then this guy has a fifth wheel, and he can only go to 50% of the national parks. I'm like, dude, like, I just got a little 22-footer, no big deal. I put it inside of my house. We put it on Airbnb. It pays for itself, and it helps with like lawn care, the pool care, whatever.
Yeah.
I love house hacking. I love
obviously
everything being self-sufficient. And so her name's not Karen, but Karen was like, she was like, I could see her little eyes. She was like, "What is he? What?" Next, you know, city shows up. Then we go to California, come back, and then we got 3 different letters from the HOA, and I'm just like, okay, all right. And so
you made a move. You improved your life. You improved your family's life.
Amen.
You started to share the wisdom with other people.
Amen.
Everything came from a very good place. But yeah, there's 2 different ways to go about it. You ask permission. You ask, and I am not I used to be when I was younger. Now I'm just like, cool, they can tell me if they got a problem. You know, like, I'm very respectful. I don't do anything to intentionally harm anyone else.
Not malicious.
No, not at all. But if I mean, just even driving on the freeway coming back here, I'm getting on the 101 East coming down from Flagstaff, and and it's backed up like a mile and a half.
Oh wow.
1 lane is.
Okay.
And I'm just like, this is stupid. This is people who are literally falling in line, and they're making traffic worse.
Program.
So I drove all the way up to the end where traffic merged. There was plenty of space. I popped in and I go there. And I'm like, I'm not hurting anyone. This is actually more effective and efficient in traffic.
I do the same thing.
But it's funny because I used to have resistance to it when I was younger, because my dad would swear at those people. Because
you're the asshole now.
Yeah, because all of a sudden I'm the asshole because my dad's waiting in line and he's obeying the rules. And I'm just like, my parents they're rule followers. Oh my God, they love the rules. Let's say they love the rules. They don't like the potential repercussions if they break the rules. I have broken many rules. I have gotten many letters from all kinds of agencies and systems. And like, I'm very much, I want to poke the system, because I don't believe that the system was designed for our best good.
Oh no.
That's why I love people. And this is a beautiful gift to be able to see the patterns running.
Yes.
And it also, sometimes it's like a little bit of a curse because I need to learn how to shut that off and just be, instead of just like, oh, I'm analyzing this person who's in front of me right now. But it is really good because I find that when I know that there are strategies and behavioral patterns and programs that are running, I can love that person.
Yes.
I can go. The other day I was at the passport office, and
I saw that video.
oh, dude, yeah, going through a process, and I won't get too much into it, but I'm claiming my sovereignty. I am uh, unregistering myself as a citizen slave of
Really?
according to the 14th Amendment. We're basically listed as slaves in the corporation that is the United States government. So there's a lot of rabbit holes that just got dumped that anybody can go and follow.
I seen. Is that also what Enzo was talking about?
Zilla talks a lot about this stuff as well. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I met her years ago, and we actually got into that conversation pretty deep. And I've been following a process with a company to basically claim my sovereignty, to claim power and control over myself, instead of, I don't want to pay taxes. I don't, and in fact, it is not lawful to require someone to pay taxes. But you got to know how the laws are set up, and the corporations and the businesses and all these things. And so I went to go change my status, and that required me using some rules that are built into the system, but basically I'm using the system's rules to get myself away from the control of the system. So the guys that were sitting there, the guy immediately tells me, he's like, I can't do this for you. And I go, well, it's just follow the law and you'll be fine. And then his manager comes out, and the manager's getting really, and I could feel myself getting really tense. The confrontational energy, the like wanting to bow down or to run away energy. And I could feel those patterns coming up in me. And then I realized this guy is just doing his job.
Yeah.
He may or may not even know what my motivation is for being here. He might see me as an insurrectionist, as a rebel for what he believes to be the truth and the best thing. But that's his perspective. That's his perspective, and so I would rather just love him.
Amen.
I can't. I had to come in back in the next day because they called me last minute right before the office closed, and they said you got to come back in. Did not give me an opportunity, so I had to drive back down to 2 hours down to Tucson, and I just said I'm going to make an appointment. I'm going to show up first thing, and I'm just going to assert my rights.
Yeah,
and that is it.
You know what I love to do, and congratulations to you on that side. I love to just be their best friend.
Yeah.
I literally, and my wife is like, why do people just tell you everything? I'm like, I don't know. I just be loving and kind and caring. And, I could be calling Chase Bank. I could be calling whatever it is. I'm just like, hey, how's your day going? And they're like, what?
Oh, it throws them off guard.
It throws them off the program.
It's wild. But what's the old expression? You attract more flies with honey than vinegar.
Kill them with kindness, man. 100%.
I think my grandma taught me that one. Yeah, it is really, and that again, it goes down to rapport.
Yeah.
People are going to be more interested in you if you show more interest in them.
Yes.
And okay, so let's talk about neuro-linguistic programming. One of the assumptions that we have, we know that the person who has the most influence on the system or the group or the environment is the one who has the most behavioral flexibility.
Ooh.
So the person that can change the way they speak, they can change the words they use, they can change the tone of their voice, they can change the way that they show up, the way they dress, and this is not about being an inauthentic mime or a chameleon who's defending themselves by changing themselves entirely. You can see me through the mask I'm wearing, but I'm choosing to wear this mask because this is the most appropriate mask for this situation.
Dude.
Right?
Dude, you're hitting deep right now, man. I love this conversation right now.
Good. I appreciate that.
I'm loving this because I had literally had a conversation with my wife about this, and I'm like, it's not that I'm being unauthentic or I'm being a chameleon. It's just that I am mirroring the actual behavior that I am being presented with.
Yep.
And so we have 3 individuals. They're from California. Whatever. They want to take shots and freaking smoke blunts. That's on them. It's legal. They offered me a shot before you got here. I said, no, I'm going on a podcast. I'm not even a drinker anyways, even though it's a Friday and, cool, let loose, have some fun, whatever. But no, I'm good. But like, then I had a little bit more slang
Oh,
in the
100%.
way that I presented myself because I want to match their energy.
Yeah. And it's really funny because even before I knew what I was doing, again, I worked in the hotel and restaurant industry. That's what I studied in Flagstaff. I logged, before I graduated, I logged 1,000+ hours of working in hotels and restaurants.
Wow.
Spent 20 years in the business. If to this day, if a person comes up to me who's really from the South, boy, before you know it, I'm gonna be speaking just like them. And
How you doing?
it is not anything intentional. It is
Yes.
natural.
Yes.
And if it's and now it's not mimicry, because mimicry is where you're using it to make fun of them. In fact, their unconscious mind would shut you down.
Mm.
But because I'm speaking more their language and I'm just naturally mirroring them back to themselves, they unconsciously are going to be more open and receptive to what I have to say. And if my intention ultimately is to support them and benefit them, even if I'm selling something to them, but that benefits them, it is of service to them, then their unconscious mind is going to be more open and receptive to it because I am choosing to, or I have adapted to mimic, or not mimic, but mirror them, to match them, to speak in the same tone. Have you ever had a conversation with somebody
Love that.
where I know you can speak fairly quickly. I can speak very, very fast if I
Yeah.
need to, and learning how to slow down again.
Yeah.
You ever come up to a guy or a woman and they're just taking their real sweet time with every word that they say, and you come in and you go, "Hey man, I gotta go do this." They immediately, you're out of rapport.
Yep.
They are not going to
Yep.
do what you want them to do or help. They're not going to take the decision that actually will help them.
Yeah. Especially, I think the older they are,
Mm.
that comes up quite a bit. And I definitely like. There's something to be said too for anyone out there that you could use this for sales, you could use this for marketing, you could use this for events. There's some, there's something authentic about mirroring,
Mm.
getting on their page, getting on their level, because almost like you're like the tuning fork.
Yeah, 100%.
You're just tuning into
Hmm.
their essence, their being, and there's no better feeling than when they walk away
Mm.
and you feel like now you have a best friend.
Yeah.
And
No,
they're like, man,
yeah.
that was a good conversation.
And so now I'll tell you the difference between the chameleon who is defensively mimicking
Okay.
and the person who uses this as a behavioral flexibility.
Okay.
Because I adapted to many, many, many situations in my life, and it was
Mm.
a survival mechanism. It was me putting on a mask and being like, "Is this what you need me to be right now?" Now, you could
Mm.
say I practiced that a lot when I was in the restaurant business because I would have to walk up to a table of people, and within 5 seconds, 10 seconds, I'd have to go, who do these people think that I need to be? Who
Mm.
do I have to be in order for them to have a good time and to tip me well? Right. So
Mm.
a lot of practice of that. But that was not the
Mm.
cause of that behavior. That was not the cause of the behavior. It was an expression of maybe why I found that career in the restaurant business was because I had a deeper rooted issue where maybe it was my mom, where sometimes she was emotionally unpredictable. Again, very sweet, loving woman, super loving, very caring, very little emotional intelligence because she was never taught that.
Mm.
And so sometimes she was spinning in her head or anxious, or I don't know what she was dealing with. She was stressed out. And I would have to be on the defense. I'd have to know, like, who do I have to be to make my mom like give me the attention and love that I needed? So there was nothing malicious about it. I was just defending. I had to take care of myself. I had to get
Mm.
what I needed because as a child, your parents are God essentially. They
Mhm.
control everything.
Mhm.
Without them, you don't live. So the difference between these two people is the person who puts on the masks, and the masks are so thick that they cannot see their true essence.
Mm.
They have made that defensive wall so thick. They manipulate themselves. They fall into line with you for that survival purpose, and then they are so not themselves. But the person who's done the work, who's cleared out their emotional energy, who's cleared out their nervous system, who has reset their mindset, they've reset their limiting beliefs, and they show up more, and they realize that actually by me showing up more authentically, I get more of what I want because
Yes.
the world mirrors that back to me. So that person shows up and they might put the mask on, but I can see them through the
Mm.
mask. So I think the superpower is when you can like for example, yesterday I was in Sedona, and I used to live there, and I used to really vibe with the like counterculture, hippie, woo woo, spiritual, new age, new earth kind of thing, and there's a lot of that still is very true for me. But I went to this ecstatic dance event there, and I haven't lived there for 6 months, and I went back and I sat around, and a lot of people came up to me and they were like, "Yeah, man, it's so good to see you again," and I just I didn't feel it anymore.
Wow.
I didn't feel like this wasn't my people. This didn't match who I am right now because I've changed a lot in just 6 months.
Wow.
Which is the power of the tools and techniques I work with, because you can change as fast as you want. Now, maybe a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, they would have walked up to me and been like, "Hey, whoa, hey," like all of a sudden, I'm right on their frequency, I'm right on their level. And this time I was still very kind. "Hey, it's good to see you. Yeah, this, that." But I'm not showing up as an inauthentic version of myself. And there were several times during that experience where I actually told people, it's like, "Hey, I'm gonna dance. Like, I'm good. I love catching up with you, but right now I need some time for myself." I draw boundaries. I used to
I love that.
get drawn into conversations I didn't want to be in, where they were talking at me, and I was just like, and it's just, I was wasting my time being around people that I didn't actually feel good around.
Yes.
But the funny thing is that years before I would have been drunk, because I used to hang out in bars, and I didn't really like the people, nor did I really like bars.
Same difference. You just had substance.
I just had a substance that was giving me the mask.
Yeah.
Right? Or I had the nice, perfectly knotted tie with my sommelier pin and the nice glass of wine, talking about, "Oh, don't you smell can you smell the cat urine in this classic French Sauvignon Blanc," which is a classic indicator of a really good French Sauvignon Blanc.
Wow.
But like the ego is so thick in that environment,
Yeah.
and I really didn't like it.
Yeah.
But I had identified myself as a sommelier, as a professional wine taster, and so I would often just get drunk enough to where I felt like I fit in.
Wow.
Because I didn't really want to be there.
Wow.
But I wasn't honest with myself.
Can you relate to that? Is that something that comes up for you? Right. I definitely think that's something to think about. Because the biggest thing is, and I love to do this, is self-reflect. And I think anyone who's viewing and watching right now, it's this is a good time to like pause the show and self-reflect and ask yourself those questions. Because a story that comes up for me, and this is my boundaries. So there's Benicia, California brokerage out there. They have about 250 agents. We'll have about 500 agents at the end of the year in 17 states with Liftoff. So we're a little bit bigger than them. Not that that's a flex. It's just that like level wise. Okay. I get you. And so I'm speaking to the lady who's part of operations. She's super sweet, cute, younger girl, talking on the same page. Then the broker comes in. Okay. And he just has this thick mask, just like you're talking about, thick mask. And like, I kind of was doing a couple of things, and I like to set intentions before I even go into a meeting. And I didn't do that. And so I went in, and I'm over here taking the approach of like, all right, let's just give them the wow factor. Let's talk about this client and the success this and the success that and the case studies this and the case studies that. And the next thing you know, it just didn't hit. And it got to a point where I was like, okay, wait a second. Let me slow down this meeting. And I just want to make sure we set the intentions here. Like, Ryan, what do you know about us? And I should have said this. I should have set the intentions at the beginning. What do you know about us? Give me some more context. I'm talking to your operations manager here, so on and so forth. And then, and I felt my energy really just like, I was like ready. Like, I'm Italian, Romanian. Before I can control myself, I used to just blow up.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
I was that guy.
Yeah, I could see that.
Fucking fist through walls. There's a couple of the walls here that I had to repatch
because that "Let Your Dreams Set Sail" sign you saw covering an old.
Thank God it wasn't a fucking 2x4 in there. Because my wife, she really knew how to get under my skin. Because she really
when women come at us with full firepower and a man is not centered. Oh wow! I tell you,
we've had some.
Whew, they know how to get us. They know that it's a powerful thing. A woman, beautiful.
So beautiful. Mm-hmm. Gotta love him, hate him, take him, leave him. Gotta have him. So it's So I just called him out, and then I had to recenter, and that had to come from love. And I'm like, you know what? Like, this is where I'm at. Like, your operations manager doesn't even want to feature our name at the bottom of the site. We like to have a referral partnership relationship. We want to be of service here. Like, they just remodeled their office, all this type of stuff. They didn't connect any of these dots. And so, I just basically recentered, and then he then apologize, like, sorry, I've been really busy, and like one of those kind of ego driven, super busy, like, what is this about? Like, it's like almost belittling to the operations manager. So if you're out there and you're a
Mm.
business owner, like slow down yourself too, and like do your due diligence
Oh yeah.
before you get into
Slowing
these
down.
like type of meetings.
Yeah.
Just because I think it's just on both ends of the spectrum, it's just mutual respect.
Yeah.
And so the deal fell through. We ended up not getting the deal, and it is what it is, and so on and so forth. But that's where I draw the line. I'm like, your money means nothing to me.
Yeah. I don't need you. I
Yes,
don't need this. I want this,
correct.
but I don't need this, and I'm not going to bend to your. I'm not going to meet you there. I'm
Mm-mm,
not going to match you there.
mm-mm,
Yeah, I really feel this is a big topic that's come up for me because I've
mm,
experienced so much burnout, and I still see it to this day. The way that I walk when I'm really busy,
mm-hmm.
head's a little bit lower. I'm like, it's again 20 years working in the restaurant business and hotel business, covering a lot of. I mean, the steps. I didn't have a step counter back then, but I bet you I would have been like 50,000 some days, just like
Wow.
from table to table, running around all these banquet halls and everything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, and I noticed, yeah, it's about slowing down. And there have been so many times when I would rush into a meeting and I would sit there and I would enter with this energy of like, why are you wasting my time right now? What is this?
Mm,
Who are you? What's the purpose of this? And I've been on the other side of that where, I might sit down and maybe I have a prospective client, somebody who's, okay, I'm ready to change my life. I recognize that I've got limitations. We all do. We always will.
yep,
It doesn't matter how successful you are, there's always another level.
yep.
And so they would sit down and they'd sign on to Zoom or we'd sit down together or whatever. And I could just tell that they were irritated
Mm,
about me even being there. And I'm like, you invited me, like I'm here to support you.
yeah.
But I used to do that. I used to walk in with that energy because I was so, I mean, I was addicted to the work. Work was a distraction from my unhealthy and unbalanced emotional state for sure.
Ooh.
Work was a way, if I was working, I wasn't thinking, and my thought processes were so negative spiral that it just, it was, if I was working, I wasn't thinking about other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this hustle culture is so prolific,
Oh my
it's
God.
so intense. And now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people who have done really well and they've hustled really well. And they also haven't learned how to enjoy the life that they've hustled for because they're still
Hustling.
hustling, still moving so fast. And I I encounter a lot of people, and I enjoy connecting and supporting these people because I'm looking at them. I'm going on paper, and even just like looking at your life, like you got the cars, you got the material success, you've got maybe the partnership, you've got the family, the whatever, and like you send me a postcard or a Christmas card with your family. I'm going, wow, I feel almost jealous. Like this is great, and then I actually start to speak to them, and they are miserable
Yeah.
because they've never learned how to slow down.
Mm,
The whole stop and smell the roses kind of a thing. Like,
yeah.
um, because now we have been taught that there's never enough. But it's also interesting because the unconscious mind is always designed to always seek more.
It's so interesting.
So there's a beautiful aspect of that, which is that the unconscious mind will always seek more. So like if you find fun, it will somehow find more fun. If you find success or connection or authenticity or these things that lift you up, it will find more. But it will also seek out more distraction. It will also seek out more numbing. It will also seek out more things. It's about
Mm,
where we orient it and what we're aiming at.
yeah.
But then there's also the, just like with the there's never enough mentality, it has created some very wonderful things in our society, in our culture, in our world. The technology and the advancements and some of the most beautiful. I mean, like I walked up to your house, I was like, this is a nice looking place. Like I'm in this studio, I'm like, this is great. Your desire for more
Yeah.
has created this.
Yeah.
And also it could be easy to get lost in that
Oh my God.
because as soon as you got this, you got to have another thing. But I got 8 houses, but they got 12 houses. Or like once it's so interesting because uh I'm like, oh well, there's some interesting patterns there.
Yeah.
And when man, I would go to places like when I live in Guatemala or in Bolivia, and I
Okay.
would see people who have nothing, and they're so happy. I actually I was down in Sonora, Mexico. I grew up in the Sonoran Desert. I was born in the Sonoran Desert, which
Okay.
is we're at the northern tip of the Sonoran Desert here in Phoenix, Arizona.
Wow.
And I started working a lot with bufo, which
Okay.
is a toad venom, 5-MeO-DMT, very powerful psychedelic. It's a toad that
Mm.
literally, when it rains, you probably could find some within a mile of here. You just go to a golf course and you could find these toads. And if you extract their venom, which you don't have to kill them, which is great, you extract their venom, you smoke it, and you will have the most intense psychedelic journey of your life in 15 to 30 minutes. It is insane. And so I had experienced this a few times, and I went to work with a tribe. I was guided to go to a tribe down in Sonora, Mexico, right on the Gulf of California.
Amazing.
And they're in this tiny little reservation. They defended themselves. They held their land against the Spanish.
Okay.
They are a sovereign nation, but there's like 500 or 600 of them. There's very small.
Wow.
They're the Seri tribe, Seri.
Okay.
The Seri tribe, and I went there and I went back a few times, and they started teaching me about how to serve this psychedelic medicine, and it's very intense. It's wild stuff.
Wow.
I mean, it's like literally like strapping on a jetpack and just getting blasted into the nothingness, and then slamming back down into your body. And sometimes you're rolling around, screaming, crying, hollering, releasing trauma. It's you have visions.
Wow.
It's insane. It's like people talk about ayahuasca a lot these days, or mushrooms. Mushroom journey is like going 500 miles in 10 hours. So you're going about 50 miles an hour. Bufo is going 500 miles in 30 minutes. Right? So covering the same distance, just going a lot faster.
Oh my
Now,
God.
I would go there, and I would just camp out in the front yard of a friend of mine there. And they were teaching me, and they would introduce me to elders, and they would teach me songs and ancient wisdom. I learned a lot of songs from their tradition, and I felt really at home there, and also like a complete stranger.
Of course.
And they had like nothing. There's like no cell phone towers. There's no cell phone service. There's only a few people in the town that have internet. They eat absolute garbage food. They're diabetic. Their alcohol consumption is an issue. Meth is an issue. There's so many challenges. And there's sometimes when I'm just sitting there, literally just like sitting on the porch with these people, and it's 100 and something degrees and humid because we're on the coast, and it's like miserable. And I'm just looking at them, and they're just like singing songs, and they're good. They're just smiling. And I'm looking at them going,
Wow.
they have nothing. And yet the joy that I see in these people is 1,000 times more than I'll see in somebody who's living in the suburbs of Phoenix and has all of the creature comforts, but is empty inside. And it's like, wow.
Amen.
And so that's when I realized like happiness has nothing to do with material success. Now, it can support a lot.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. It gives you the freedom to be able to do what you want to do when you want to do it.
Yeah.
Right? You don't got to clock in.
Mm-mm.
You choose to be where you want to be.
Yep.
You chose to buy that trailer, and you chose to turn it into a thing.
Yeah.
You chose to have these guests come in and offer you a blunt.
Yeah.
I'm
good right now. Like,
you're like you created this situation for yourself, and it seems like you're very grateful for that.
Amen.
And I feel like, you feel to me like somebody who has been able to connect with a lot more happiness than a lot of people. And the cool thing is that there's always more.
Yeah.
And it's just, and your unconscious mind will give it to you if you know how to speak to it.
Yeah.
If you know how to give it the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
If you know how to let go of, most of us are walking around like we got a 50-pound rucksack full of old pain and old beliefs and I'm not good enoughs and all these things. And it's funny because the people who might have created more success might just go and be like, well, just try harder. Or why don't you just be happier? Or why don't you just
get a morning routine?
Get a morning. You're just gonna fix it. It's like, dude, I used to have 4.5-hour morning routine that did not do anything for me. It was just another addiction. It was another distraction.
Yeah.
But it's funny because there's no understanding about, you don't get what you want. You get what you're programmed for. But some people might have been programmed for material success. But you might look at those people and think, well, they got everything. But what you're not seeing, though, is they might be completely empty inside.
Yeah, 100%. No, I agree. And my whole philosophy is life by design.
Yeah.
And I've been there, family addiction, meth, weed, abuse, death. I've seen a lot of things and came from more of a rough patch. and then got to see and this is going to be in a book that I'm reading, not reading, excuse me, writing. And then from that rough patch, I got to see the other side. I was like, oh, this is really nice. I went from Pittsburgh, which is rough, and then I went to Pleasanton, which was nice, and Pleasanton was like Pleasantville, like whoa, and it was like 45 minutes away from each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so and my aunt, she was living there, so I got to live with her for a little bit, and then I was like, and then I played Grand Theft Auto, loved the game. My friend got some hack and got a bunch of money, and I couldn't keep up with them, but Life by Design, I was moving forward, and I'm like, okay, I'm done with the games. I'm going to go in this direction. And then what I love the most from all these things is using them as tools to intrigue the youth to come. So they ask questions, and then I can speak to them, and I can be able to help support them. But yes, I will 100% say that I always am looking for more. And one thing that's coming up for me now is that I want more, and I'm serving more. So like I have like almost 20 in the Philippines, and then now I have Jen, who's 11-year teacher. She's a realtor. She was on our show. Check out our episode. She's actually was with the tribe. She's Native American. She's a cycle breaker, and so she just said 2-3 weeks ago that she's going to quit her job and she's going to come with us May 26th full time. So now we need to get a certain amount of reoccurring revenue, around 6,000 monthly from Liftoff to pay for her salary.
Yeah.
And I'm giving her the roadmap and I'm building everything out, and it's like, what is enough? But I want to serve her. I want to support her, and it'd be nice to not have the debt, or you got the tariff shit going on, the stock market's going up and down, all this type of stuff. But at the end of the day, it's like,
Yeah. Well, and I tell you what, people make money in good markets. People make money in bad markets.
Oh yeah,
So like, why?
yeah.
Well, it's because of their beliefs. It's like, oh man, the stock market's taking a dive. Cool, it's getting cheaper. Buy some more. Like it's on sale. Let's go.
Yeah, but you know who takes advantage of that shit? Grant Cardone.
Oh yeah.
He's sitting there putting out content for all of you that are programmed, saying, "Hey,
Mm.
you see why I don't invest in the stock market? You see why you should get in real estate? You see why you should invest in Grant Cardone? Cardone Capital, whatever." And so these people take advantage of the programming.
Oh yeah, and there's there's a lot of ways to do it, and I love what you said about being of service, and one of the reasons why I've chosen to step more into online space, podcasting. Thank you again for the interview.
Of course,
for
dude.
the invitation. Even potentially starting my own program or whatever it is because I want to be more of service.
Yeah.
And so how I'm doing that, I can step into the more discomfort because it gets me to my ultimate goal, which is, to help other people to realize that they can love their life, have fun, have as much as they want. Just don't set an expectation about what it's going to be that's going to truly light you up. Let's actually get in touch with what actually lights you up.
Ooh.
And for me, it's funny because I think I pushed away wealth for a long time.
Okay.
Because I know why it is because I had a belief that the more money I had, the less that I would be present for the people in my life.
Interesting.
But think about it. What was my father doing?
Yep.
He was trading his time for money.
Yep.
Now, he was a very successful CEO, but he was also a salary paycheck employee his entire life.
Okay.
He was never a business owner. He was never an entrepreneur. He was never a real estate investor. So he got a paycheck and he did well, but he always exchanged his time for that money. And I don't know what the hourly rate would have been, but he wasn't working 40 hours a week.
Okay.
So in my mind, if I were to make a lot of money, then I was not going to be present. So then I would not be present with the people. So then I ended up, even just, up until a few years ago, I would go through cycles where I would have a lot of time to be around the people.
Yeah.
But I was suffering because I didn't have the funds. Right? It's funny, the word fun is in funds.
Yeah.
It just clicked for me. But
there you go. Another moment.
But then there'd be times when I was working so much without actually any yield because of that belief that I had the only value was how much I worked.
Interesting.
And so I love it when I see people who challenge that and show that you can actually work less and make more.
Yes.
That you can have fun and be profitable. And for me, I'm also about designing my life, reality creation. and not working harder for it.
I love that for
Working
you.
smarter.
Yes, yes, yes.
So that's why, I had this game plan that I was going to go back to Guatemala, and literally up until 3 or 4 days ago, that was the game plan.
Yeah.
And then it just clicked, and I went, no, that's comfort zone. That's familiar territory. If I go back there, I choose easier. I choose simpler. I choose an old version of myself. The new territory, the new place is a new direction, and it is unfamiliar, but it also feels exciting. It feels aligned.
I love that.
Love
that for you.
And it's so funny because I'll be in the gym, and I'm doing some techniques to improve my eyesight, and I think anything in our physical body is a reflection of mental and emotional issues.
Okay.
So even if you have poor eyesight, what do you not want to look at? What do you not want to see? What can't you see? What are you not open to seeing? Some people are so laser focused on one thing, they don't expand their peripheral vision. They don't see like we used to see. We used to see very differently when we were hunters and gatherers, and now it's like we're always looking at one point, and we're very focused. And it's very narrow vision, right? Tunnel vision.
Yeah.
So my vision, I can't read at this moment. It is a little difficult to read things from very far away.
Okay.
But I was lifting some weights, and then I look over and I see the word Spain on the TV. And that's where I've been feeling called toward, Spain. And I went, well, here's a perfect example of how the unconscious mind works. I have been thinking about Spain a lot. I have been following my intuitive guidance. I've been inviting my unconscious mind to give me that intuitive guidance. So because of those programs, it is now filtering information for me to support that desire to understand or to support that direction.
Yeah.
And so there were 12 TVs in this gym, big space. And from a distance, just at that moment, I happen to turn and see the word Spain. And that's the only thing that catches my attention.
Wow.
When there's so many words, so many letters, so many things happening. Well, because my unconscious mind is going, hey, we know what you want, and we are going to provide you exactly what you need for that. Now, we can still get those messages and not take action, right? I could still be like, well, yeah, maybe someday, and then I'll go back somewhere else where I don't feel Guatemala's been great, but I haven't felt that comfortable. There's actually been a lot of times where I was there and I was just like, oh God, no. But I was addicted to not allowing myself to have things that were easy.
Wow.
Right? Because of a belief that if it's not hard work, it's not of any value.
Interesting.
But again, whatever you believe is true for you.
Yeah.
It's not universally true. It's why it's a belief.
Yeah. I like the balance of like the going deep and then getting into it and learning, and then it's like kind of hard and you're like, whoa, and then like that, okay, let's just take a second, let's back up, let's just relax. And in contrast to, so I'm a firm believer that there is no coincidences. Everything happens for a reason. When Jonathan was on the show, we talked about a contract and how we had a contract to, perform and produce the show that we produce. And here's our contract. And so, so in contrast to, so I, in about a year, maybe two, we'll see, but probably a year, I'm going to start to then take myself back from Liftoff from the perspective of working in the business to then working on the business. And this show is a part of the catalyst of that happening. And so with Jen coming in, and it was so serendipitous. It's just everything just like it was like, hey, you got to meet this girl. She's an agent. And then she's like, hey, I would love your services, but I can't afford them. And then I was like, put on Instagram, like, hey, what's up, everyone? Opportunity potentially, Liftoff, looking to grow my sales division. She's like, tell me more. And then boom, she took her spring break, did a crash course, and here we are. And now she's going to be working with us. And so my intention is to then work less and then be able to explore this and other things and speaking and motivational speaking, whatever. And what I could see for you is I could see utilizing the social channels. This is what I love. I love like going places and being like, oh yeah, I got clients here, I got clients there, state, whatever, everywhere. And I could see you having in different countries, places of the world where you'll have your clients and you could like go and be of service and meet with them. And you're probably already doing this and then be able to just life by design, travel and.
Yeah. Well, I asked myself what do I really want? And like, I love to adventure. I love to travel. I love
Yeah.
to explore beautiful places. I love to go to highly energetic places.
Ooh.
So like Sedona is a lot of energy there.
Yeah. Love it there.
Hawaii. I was just in Hawaii doing more training with my teacher there, studying Hawaiian energetic healing, ancient wisdom, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And powerful place. Sitting on a
Wow.
volcano, rainbows flying out because we're making prayers and like all this cool stuff. It's really beautiful.
Wow.
Guatemala, the lake that I live on, the Mayan people called it the belly button of the world. Some of the most powerful energy. We just went and did a 5-day jungle hike to a pyramid site that was the capital of the Mayan civilization.
Amazing.
For much of the time that it was there. It collapsed twice, which is hilarious.
Wow.
Because the rich people wanted to get richer, they wanted to build more buildings. They cut down all the trees, then there was no trees, and then it was uninhabitable. So then it collapsed, and then the trees grew back, and they came back and did it again, and it collapsed again. It's so funny. Humans and consumption is a weird thing, but
it is.
But for me, it's like, yeah, I'm stepping into more retreats in beautiful places where I can help people get out of their comfort zone, get out of their usual life, and then make massive transformations. Where I get to be in the beautiful places and I get to adventure and explore. For me, it's like, what do I really want? And then can I hold the vision of that? And then as I hold the vision of that, can I start to work backwards? And then how much do I need to do? And how much is it just I need to be that person, right? How much do I need to just start to act as if I'm already that person? How much can I sit down, close my eyes, and imagine what it's going to feel like to be that person? And then that starts to magnetize to me all these opportunities.
Yeah.
And, NLP, and for me, it's like, it's been a real journey because I had to get my head under control. I found NLP not long after, the miscarriage, before I went really deep into it, I was doing the psychedelic work and I was helping my clients by serving them psychedelics, and it's very powerful, but it was not the simplest and smoothest path. It was kind of like, let's stick a dynamite stick into your baggage and your emotional baggage.
Let's see what happens here. Let's just try this out.
Why not, right? It's like, the whole thing was a very curious experience, but I didn't think about how much I was using this substance and how much it was affecting my neurochemistry. So my serotonin levels would go up and down and up and down. My dopamine levels would go up and down. And so, nature loves balance. So I'm like craving this vision. So I would smoke this substance and then I'd lift off, very different type of lift offs, blast it out of the into different dimension, and I come back. But it does a lot of this by evoking and changing your neurochemistry.
Okay.
But nature loves balance, which doesn't mean that like I'm going to sail smoothly back down to neutral. No, I'm going to crash down to negative territory because then that brings me to a balance. Right. So that's like, if I get really high, then I'm going to experience a really low, and then I'll get back to neutral. Yeah. So that's how I was living my life for a long time, was extreme highs and then extreme lows. And then I had to realize, thank goodness, synchronicities and grace, or whatever you want to call it. The message came to me that I was messing up my neurochemistry.
Oh, wow.
And so like, how can because I am a spiritual body, I am a mental body, I am an emotional body. I should say I have. I'm an infinite being, I believe, a spirit, a soul, whatever, an aspect of God or consciousness, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. And I have a spiritual body, I have a mental body, I have an emotional body, I have a physical body, and they all interact and work with each other. And it's very difficult to be able to be positive in my thinking and to hold my vision if my serotonin levels are so effed up. Yeah. Because I have been engaging in behavior. Yeah. Just like for people, people want to be calm and peaceful, and they're drinking 9 cups of coffee a day. You're wondering why the mental chatter is so intense. Yes. No amount of meditation is going to bring that back into balance, right? So sometimes that's why I like working with Jonathan. Okay. Because he talks about the physical body. And he and I have collaborated working on clients together. Like, we support people together because I love that. I work on the spiritual, mental, emotional level. And he works really on, he does the same thing. He just works the other direction. I work from the higher bodies down into the physical, because the changes we make in the thinking affects our body. Yeah. The reason someone has cancer is because of mental and emotional disorder. Yeah. And it's expressing in the body. Yeah. Right?
Disease creates disease.
Absolutely. Mental disease eventually expresses in the physical body. Now, we can do a lot to heal that with the food, eating differently, and all these other things. but I believe you got to work from both directions. So he would help clients to make massive transformations in their diet, their environment, the emotional eating, and all these other things.
Yeah.
And I would help them with the mental aspect of it and the emotional aspect to clear all the baggage. And then we were working from both ends, and it's way more exciting. It's way more impactful.
Powerful.
Because
Shout out.
like, he's very big into talking about parasites, and man, I've gotten some things out of my body after getting support from him. Like I've got like the hidden page on my iPhone Photos app is not like naughty photos. It is parasite worms and things that have come out of my body after having detoxified, doing a 40-day juice cleanse, doing parasite. I've done rounds of parasites. I have worms that are 3 feet long coming out of my body.
Wow.
But these things know how to mess with your emotions.
Yeah,
because
I believe that.
They want to eat. And so all of a sudden you're craving it. It's like, is it really you craving it, or is it the worm inside of you craving it? Does it really matter? Right. So I think it's like really cool to just see that, this is an infinitely complex video game that we're playing in.
Yeah.
And you can either choose to be overwhelmed by it, or you can choose to be excited about it.
Wow.
You know that idea, like the more you know you don't know shit.
Yeah.
Some people like
say that again.
Yeah. Okay. See, I'm more. Sometimes I'm a very literal listener.
Yeah, me too.
Literal and inferential.
Yeah.
The inferential person's like they're hearing the things between the lines. You say it again, and I'm just like, yeah. Oh, and he doesn't actually want me to.
Yeah.
Don't
be that directly, no.
Not that direct. But it was really for me. It's like, yeah, I don't know shit, and I'm not gonna shame myself for that. I'm gonna celebrate it because wow, there's so much. I'm. What, Abraham Hicks? Was that who you were referring to earlier when you were talking about a medium? I'm curious.
Abraham Hicks was one that I have listened to. This one, I believe, was learning from Dolores Cannon.
Nice. Love Dolores. She works with hypnosis.
Yeah, I'm finishing a book with her right now.
Right up
another woman, and it was on Gaia that I was listening to.
And so, whatever is coming from this idea that you're never going to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
Even when you it's like you could create that success in your business. You're never going to get all the success done.
Yeah.
There's always going to be more.
Of course.
And isn't that awesome? Isn't that awesome that you can achieve all of these things and there's still going to be more? Like, you're still going to be excited about
Never done.
Oh my God.
Never done.
That's so cool.
I love that. I just want to say cautions to our viewers and listeners out there as far as like, don't go find a frog, okay, on the golf course in Arizona and get the venom and just start smoking some shit, okay?
Yeah, I highly recommend, I'll give you a little bit of advice about this.
Yeah.
Psychedelics. Psychedelics is a path, but it is not for everybody.
Yes.
And I got lost. I smoked that venom almost 100 times in a year.
Wow.
And most people will do it 0 times, once maybe. And even avid psychedelic takers are frightened of this medicine. This substance is very intense. And so I will recommend to you, if for some reason you are feeling called to a psychedelic experience, ayahuasca, mushrooms, there are trained therapists that are coming out. It's actually being taken very seriously. I believe 4 important stages to this. One is the understanding that this is actually the right direction for you. The intuition, the guidance, the messages, the coincidences that are not coincidences.
Yeah.
Number 2 is to do your research and actually find somebody who is going to be the person who will guide you through this process. And don't do it alone. It is so disrespectful to yourself and to the substance itself, because there's infinitely powerful intelligence in these plants or these substances. Number 3 is to have a space where this is being held for you with the most respect and regard and intention, that you're going with it with the right purpose, is you're very clear on why you're there, and that you're also willing to let go, because you will have to let go of control. Otherwise, things can get very dangerous. And then number 4 is make sure that there's an integration program, because what I made the mistake of doing is I would take these visions and these powerful experiences and I would have these multidimensional experiences, and I would come back to this earth plane. My neurochemistry would crash, and I had no idea that was happening.
Wow.
I would feel super depressed. I'd look around and I'd go, what is this ugly, dirty, trashed planet? Who are these weird people who are taking advantage of each other? The people that walk by each other and ignore each other. We literally build fences. I love that your fence has beautiful seaside, all this good stuff.
Yeah, we don't like prisons here, so we gotta change it up.
And so I'm like, what is this planet like? And I was so frustrated because there was nobody to hold my hand afterwards and go, you're going to feel like everything is beautiful and the universe is beautiful. You're going to feel God present in every cell of your body. And then you're
Yeah.
going to come back to this planet and you're going to go, what is this? I didn't have anyone to tell me that.
Yeah.
And so I had to ride that ride on my own. And what I did is I escaped to the drug again. I escaped to go get high again because I couldn't navigate that. I tried to do it on my own. I tried to hold space for others to do it, but I was running away by smoking more.
Wow.
And that's when I actually had to make the commitment to go completely substance free.
Wow.
And yeah, that was a big step for me.
Congratulations on that, man.
Thank you.
And thank you for sharing that for our future listeners too.
It's so important because there's a lot of information out there. I mean, you know, the podcasts, the Rogans and all these things, they talk about these substances, but they don't tell you what really happens.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of charlatans, snake oil salesmen, a lot of dime store shamans out there who, for their own reasons, have felt guided to do this work like I was.
Yeah.
That we were intuitively called and divinely called to do this work, to serve these very powerful substances. But the shaman was somebody who usually was chosen either from birth or as a young child and was trained in the ways of sensitivity, magic, powers, all these things. They would sit and listen for years. And before somebody would sit with a substance like this, they had to train for years. They had to master their mind and their emotions and their physical body before they could even touch this stuff. Because you're going to die. You are going to die. Your ego will shatter.
Wow.
Now, that is not the experience that we had in the 60s when LSD and the counterculture came up. People were going to parties and they were having bad trips. Nobody was telling them how to do this well.
No.
And then it was illegal. So then it was now counterculture, underground stuff. And then it got really pushed away. Now we're bringing it back into the zeitgeist. It's back in the collective consciousness. And there's a lot of people that are benefiting from it. And if I speak to somebody and they say, yeah, I've sat with ayahuasca 63 times. I'm going, did you not get it the first time? This is a painful experience to go through. It is hell. It is not pleasant. You don't go there for recreation, but if you don't come back and integrate what we do, just like if you go to a Tony Robbins event, by the way, OG NLP practitioner right there.
I love it. He's great. Shout out, Tony.
If you go to a Joe Dispenza event, if you go to all these different things, you're going to have a peak experience. You're going to have a high because you're with 1,000 people that are wanting to level up. Dude, just being
all together.
Being here with you right now, I feel my energy because you're a person who I feel lifted up by your presence. Because
likewise,
I see that you want to do better.
Yeah.
Imagine that 1,000 times, and then you come back home and you come back into your little 2-bedroom apartment, and you're like, "Whoa, what's going on?" Right?
What's going on right now? Yeah.
Just imagine that with a substance that is a mind-shattering psychedelic.
Wow.
And to just leap into the unknown of that is so disrespectful to yourself, to that substance, to the traditions. And I made the mistake, and I don't believe it was a mistake. It was a lesson of being that shaman, and I never really could fully step into that role. I served a few people professionally. I was very hesitant because I felt like it was a great weight to carry, a great responsibility. And I didn't feel ready for that.
Wow.
And I even had friends. I had a girlfriend at the time, and she was like, "You need to make money. This is your thing. Go do it." I was in a situation where I was very out of my masculine energy, and I was attracting a lot of very masculine women who were just like, they saw me as this kind of little boy that needed parenting on the unconscious level. And so, yeah, it was fascinating to see how I felt guided to this medicine. I felt very resistant to even serving it because there was a part of me that wanted to honor it. And then also there was my paycheck, my bank account that was also saying like, bro, make some posts and get some people to come and smoke this substance because you need to pay your bills. And so there's a lot of people out there that are they're doing it because they're just, it's their path. But I just be very careful, be very discerning. If it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And that's why I feel like everything that, anything you do, I feel like you could just set intentions. I feel like from the tea that we're drinking to, a gallon of water here to the food you in one day, keep doctor away, the food you ingest to, whatever, whether it's marijuana, mushrooms, psychedelics. I mean, frog poison. You know, so
Toad venom. Actually,
toad venom.
I do
Sorry.
have some I do actually do serve frog poison. That's another story. But continue, please.
Wow, I love that. But it's like setting the intentions. Like, what's your intention from the perspective of doing
100%.
what you're doing? And that's even from alcohol too. I don't think enough
100%.
people set intentions from the perspective of like, you're about to go to the bar, you're about to drink, you're about to this, you're about to that. Like, you know, you could set the intention for ease and flow. I'm going to go to this location. It's going to be absolutely amazing. And like, you tell yourself it's going to be amazing and ease and flow. You're going to find the parking spot.
Yeah.
You're going to meet someone new, right? And then when you drink, it's like, what's the intention? Okay, great. You've had an amazing week.
Yeah.
Congratulations. You closed a couple clients. You leveled up with, great podcasts. Like, okay, cool. Like go have that sushi and go have some sake and bless your body and celebrate. And then you're good instead of
Oh, yeah.
mindlessly just like, oh, let's try this out and see what's up. And totally
Yeah.
just like, I don't know, life
Which
happened
is,
to you or for you.
and just remember that's happening because they're running a strategy.
Mm,
There's a program that's happening there, and
yeah.
for me it was not willing. I was not willing to confront myself. I was not willing to sit still and slow down.
Yeah.
I was addicted to moving all the time.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, there's a lot of programs that were there, and that's why I love doing the work that I do, is because I get to help people to reveal these things. You can know thyself, know yourself first, and then you can rewrite the story.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that's empowering. Like once you get to know yourself and you know what's happening, then you can do something about it.
Yes.
And I rarely had intentions when I was drinking.
Mm.
Rarely had intentions when I was eating a meal. It
Mm.
was usually, but there was a program. There was I want to not feel.
Yeah.
I want to avoid my emotions. I want to feel like I'm connecting with people, but I don't know how to authentically connect with people. But when I'm drunk and they're drunk, I feel like I'm connecting with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's a cheap proxy for connection, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the alcohol is the drugs that are legal are fascinating
Mm.
because
Yeah.
because you might say, okay, let's say bufo, 5-MeO DMT, bufatine, the primary components in that substance are substance one.
Mm-hmm.
They're level one substances according to the U.S. government, so they're very illegal, on par with cocaine and everything.
Wow.
And now they have helped people heal,
Okay.
so there's value in them, and also it needs to be treated with respect.
Mm.
But alcohol is legal, and I ask me how many people that I know that have died from psychedelics.
How many people do you know that died from psychedelics?
I've never heard a single experience of somebody dying from a psychedelic. I've never seen anybody overdose. I don't think you can overdose. If anybody ever had any difficulty, it was poor mental and emotional integration. And it was a result of that rather than the substance itself.
Got it.
But dude, look at the numbers with alcohol. Frightening how many people die, how much abuse happens. But why is that? Well, we live in a system that prefers to keep people at a lower state of consciousness, a lower state of vibration, because it's easier to keep them in line.
Yep.
If you're hungover, it's really hard to meditate and ask what's the purpose of life.
Breathing, meditate. Yeah. None of that shit.
No, I mean that's grateful that I let go of alcohol. I mean that was actually when I let go of alcohol. I committed to taking a year away so that I could teach people how to drink better. And 3 weeks in, I just was like, wow, I'm never going back.
Congratulations, man. That's freaking awesome. Talk about a liftoff moment. And
That was huge.
and yeah, that's why, I love this opportunity and I really appreciate you being here because, selfishly, right? This is kind of like a session like for me, or for us, and then we're sharing it for all of you.
Amen.
Because we have all of these things that we learn, and you have all these things that you learn, and then we're integrating together. And they talk about this. I don't know exactly where I heard it, but they said like I think it was Dolores Cannon. They said like, so everywhere you've gone, or everywhere you've gone, or everywhere I've gone, you leave an energetic thumbprint
Oh yeah.
in that location.
Oh, yeah.
And so we are now leaving this energetic thumbprint. And what came up for me earlier in the show, because I can't believe it, we're already over 2 hours. What
Wow.
came up for me, yeah, dude, isn't that crazy?
That's wild.
What came up for me is I had a vision when you were talking about traveling the world, and it was with you and Jonathan, and like us doing something
Mhm.
in a different country, doing something. I don't know what it was, but some type of something, and having that experience. I even imagined myself like going through the jungle and like going to a freaking, because my wife, she's traveled the world. She's done a bunch of stuff with her ex-husband. So I'm the second. No, but
better one, clearly.
amen. And so yeah, so going through that experience, going through that process, she's been there, done that, and then it's funny how we integrated together in this journey. And like I said earlier, like I don't believe in coincidences, man.
Oh, 100%. And I love your willingness to see that, to speak it. And look, the cool thing is that all we got to do is just be like, hey, you know, I saw that. Did you see that too? Cool. Let's just put that there, and then we'll know when the time is right.
Exactly.
Right. I think I used to be like, yeah, we got to do something right now.
Yes.
You know, it's like, slow down.
Yes,
like
because I really just kind of meditate here on it just for a little bit as we're getting closer to the end of the show. Like I see myself as like I'm the guy who wants to be super extra, and not extra because I need to flaunt, or I need to I'm inside dead, so I want to have all these things. I just want to be extra because I want to give people an experience that maybe they never had before. And I talked about this with the episode with Jonathan when it comes to like supercars or hypercars. And I have a couple supercars. I have a super truck and a car.
I know. I'm super excited to go see that.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll take a little ride. And I was talking about the engineers and like the methodology, the engineers, the people behind it, and how they put in this time and effort to then create this thing, and then like the responsibility of owning one, sharing it, and then also other people around you. Where if I had someone like wreck their car into our curb trying to do a video of my GTR and like literally blew a tire out, and he hobbled to the nearest complex and parked in there. Maybe he lived there. I don't know. But yeah, so that's where I can imagine I'll take my private jet and I'll fly out to where you're at, and we could do something cool and just like, I don't know.
I absolutely the visions, and my process is this really crafting the life that I desire most, and it's I know that is in alignment with what my purpose is here.
Yeah.
And it gets to be fun and exciting, and to connect with beautiful people who are also wanting more.
Yes.
And wanting to show others that they can have as much as they desire.
You got this.
And I that's where I go. And it gets to be easy. It gets to be fun. It gets to be playful.
It does.
And that doesn't mean that we don't do the work, right? But it's just not like I got to go clock in and work 13 hours today to make it happen.
Yep.
Right. It's funny because the other day I was recording these videos for this course, and I was laughing because like 5 hours went by, and I went, whoa, what just happened? And I go, oh, I was having fun.
You're in the flow state.
I was totally in the flow state.
Yeah.
Now, and then I had to, the next day I was like, I went to Sedona with Jonathan.
Yeah.
We jumped in the creek. We danced all day. Tonight I'm going to live music. I'm just like, I'm learning how to balance.
I love that.
Right.
Love that for you.
Intense periods of work, and then boom, go explore, get really deep into my business and work with clients. Found some cool clients in Guatemala, helping a woman with rheumatoid arthritis.
Wow.
To the layers that are underneath that, which is wild. Another woman was lacking inspiration for her business. And then I helped her to unlock herself, and she's like visions with aliens and all kinds of and things are moving so fast for her right now. It's so cool to see when people
amazing
step into that. And then I'm just like, yeah, then I'm gonna go do a jungle hike and visit the biggest pyramid complex that exists in the world. Like, let's do it.
Let's go. I think to leave the show on a high note, one of the best feelings in life is getting to a place where, like, say we are, and then seeing the other side of the coin where you like speak this like liftoff agent, like this company, this vision, the mission, all the things, and then you get people behind it, and then you get to see them lift off, and you get to see them have success, and then you get to see them take care of their family, and then you get to see them become cycle breakers, and you're like, holy shit, like I am now at a point where people are taking these philosophies, these ideologies, and just all the things over the years that I've been preaching, and they're running with it on their own. It's so beautiful.
So good.
And that's legacy.
It is, and it's not about the person that you came here to be. It's about how much you can help other people to be the people that they are meant to be. I mean, that is right there.